As black people, we must seek to untangle, and we must, by whatever means necessary, as said by Malcolm X, we must seek to untangle the oppressive chains which shackles our people rather than entering into relationships which are extensions of that oppression.
Either you're for or you're against racism. You cannot perpetuate an unracist society by maintaining separatist views.
Hello, good evening, and welcome. It's fantastic to see so many people turning up to this kind of event, and I'm really, really pleased to see you all here. Many people that I know, many people that are new to me that I've introduced myself to. It's fantastic to see you all here, and thank you for making the effort to come out just before the Easter holidays. It's very much appreciated.
Well, I'm one of the products, as it were, of a mixed relationship. I'm mixed origin, I'm half Indian, half English, and listening to all this about identity and whatever, I feel I'm just as much Indian as I'm English. I don't feel that I've lost my Indian identity at all. I feel that my parents, my Indian side, my dad has taught me about the Indian culture, the Indian religion. I was born in India. I've got very close relationships with my grandparents in India, and yet I still have close relationships with my English side of the family as well, and just as much understanding. I feel it gives you a much broader outlook of life and of people and culture, and being able to accept different races.
Both my children are very fair-skinned, and when my son, when we were living in Bassett Green, he went to Hardmoor Corps, which is partially belong to Hampshire, and they've got the Friends of the Hardmoor Corps. It was almost a semi-private school. He was the only black child there, and of course he looked white. And he came home one day, and we were looking at the television, and there was a West Indian gentleman on television, very, very dark-skinned, and he went, "Ooh, black people." He said, "I don't like them at all." So I whipped out the album, the photo album, and I showed him a picture of my father. I said, "You see that?" I said, "That's the black man." I said, "That black man is my father." I said, "And if you hate him," I said, "you have got to hate me." Now, he was 5 years old. I know that children from mixed races suffer.
Black guys in general actually lose their identity. If she was to ask the same question of or a black man, whether he would think a black woman loses her identity by getting married or going out with a white man, I don't actually think that the answer would be the same. It seems like this opinion comes generally from the black girls. I'm sorry. That's where I look at things.
I am sorry, I have to totally disagree with you. I am in a position where I deal, my profession, I deal with a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and a wide spectrum. I have everybody coming to my shop, and I am just talking about the experience that I have had since I have been in my shop. That is what I am talking about. I am not racist at all. I'm prejudiced, but not to the extent where I'd say I wouldn't go out with a white person. But I know for a fact, I know personally, that there is a lot of cases, and this is men and women, when they go out with the opposite race, they lose their identity. And it is not in a major scale where you can identify with it directly. It is in a scale like, for instance, they want to have their hair straight, they don't like the afro. It's little things like this, and it's things like, oh, I don't like the darker ones, I like the lighter ones. And this is a form of losing your identity without you even knowing it. And if you pass that on to your child and they get married and intermix again, eventually you're going to wipe us out.
I think most of it is actually out of the ignorance from the people themselves. I mean, the core thing really comes from people knowing about the identity, knowing if you know and you're confident about it, then there's no rattling that's going to go on in a relationship whatsoever. So the core thing really is educating the people, that people should know where they stand and their identity.
Okay, but can I just say something? Are you from Southern Africa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you come from a culture where your identity and your history is written into your educational system.
Definitely, yeah. Everything.
But it's perhaps different here in Britain.
It is,
where
because they've got biased education and people don't know anything, so the core thing is the
exactly.
education.
Yeah, so awareness and identity tends to be a personal thing. Yeah. Okay. Any comments? No? Yeah?
I mean, I mix a lot of with a lot of families, and I do know that there are a lot of hang-ups about inter-ethnic marriages, and I know families where the Asian girl might want to marry an African man, and the family will actually say, right, we don't want to know you. And that happens also if a girl wants to marry outside into the white community. And I see that amongst the Asian community, there is a great sort of difficulty about letting go of their children and hanging on, to all that. I'm not saying that that's wrong or anything like that, but I see that happening. And relationships, no matter how strong you are, they cannot be successful in isolation. And if you're isolated from your family setups, then it's far more difficult to make them a success. And I think children also become victims in the long run because your marriage itself is not strong enough.
Right. Thank you. Good point.
Specifically about the Asians, they have hundreds and hundreds of years of culture and religion to break down. We are only second or third generation, and I wouldn't think it's unfair to expect our parents to integrate so easily. As
when you say we are, do you mean you're a result of a...
No, I'm not. I'm a result of an Indian marriage, and I've had arranged marriage myself. So there are good things to say about the Asian side of things as well, as well as mixed marriages. I think it's good to have mixed marriages. We've got to integrate, but I think it's also unfair to say about first, second generation in this country that they should give away hundreds and hundreds of years of heritage and accept that we're going to integrate.
What I'm saying is that if we're going to live, we can bear our children, we can have children, but we can't own them. And at the end of the day, they will make their choices and they will choose. And that choice is often not allowed. It's not allowed often.
But if you go back
this is from my personal experience. No, this is from my personal experience as a worker with families having those problems. And I'm only quoting from my personal experience. I'm not making a generalization of the whole community. I'm not doing that at all.
But there is this feeling that maybe we should be, or not us, our parents, our grandparents should be expected to, go along with, or say our children should integrate and our children should be allowed to marry out of religion.
Okay,
Can I address what this guy's saying behind me here? At the end of the day, right, how many black people wear their traditional dress, right? You know what I mean? I don't see any black. Listen, no, it's not a matter of being shameful. It's not. Just hush up, man. Because
please, let's have one at a time. No. You said just now. I wanted you to talk, yeah, and you declined. Okay, so let's.
I'm a sort of like unique maybe to the people that are here. That I was brought up in the care system, right? It was white.
Me too.
In the middle class area where they had yachts in their boats, right? And we were treated, right, that if you were black there, that you're automatically a mugger, or you're scrounging off the society and all the rest of it. Now, when I left the care system, they were the views I came out with, right? If a black person came near me, I was frightened, genuinely frightened of them, right? Because I didn't consider myself black. And at the end of the day, right, I've had to re-educate myself, right? And let's address what Franklin said. At the end of the day, this black struggle that we're all fighting for, right? If we didn't have white people that were dying and all the rest of it on the front line with black people, then we wouldn't be where we are today.
My problem is, and I have to return to Franklin, this prejudice plus power equals racism, that debate that he continually uses. If I could finish, Franklin, I was going to say that it was balderdash. The great thing that white people have actually given to people here is fear. They've given us fear.
Fear.
They make us question ourselves. But for those of us who are born from mixed relationships and have come out the other side intellectually, and in terms of our own emancipation, we've taken that fear and we've discovered why we're black. We don't assume it. We don't take it for granted. We are black because in here, we are black. I don't need the clothes that tell me I am. I am black because my head and my heart tells me I'm black. Who I choose to love is the true sign of my emancipation, because within my emancipation, I have choice. And the one thing that white people have tried to deny me at all stages and continually, the one way they have kept us oppressed, the one way they have taken away everything we've had, is by denying us choice. Now, I choose to be with a white person. I choose to understand why I'm black. And I choose to challenge anybody that says to me that I need a crutch, I need a ghetto, I need a separatist view that actually says, I will be black. And before, as I see a hand go up, some of us actually walked with Michael X. Some of us actually were there. Some of us perceive it. But the reality is, what he was saying was, understand your value and your strength and your history. I do that.
Thanks very much. We've talked about love and choice kind of being, the essence of freedom. Yeah, I think that's a kind of very, very 1980s and 1990s. Yeah, it's a moot point, but that's still fairly idealistic, and it doesn't actually sort of portray the reality of a lot of mixed race relationships. I wonder how many people feel that sometimes it's actually fashionable to go out with black people. Like it's fashionable to listen to black music and maybe, adopt the style of clothing. Has anybody had that kind of experience? Yeah.
In my case, I can honestly put my hand on my heart and I've never ever thought that it's fashionable to go out with someone else because they're a different colour.
But you're black.
Even though I'm black, I do, and I know you might think, Christ, who is this guy? I do not look at people as colour. I never have done. It's just not within me. Even if I've been very, very upset, I could not turn around and call somebody a name through his colour or his religion. I couldn't do it.
I don't actually think it's very honest to say that you don't see somebody's colour.
Yeah.
And I also think it's a bit insulting to both black and white to suggest that you don't see the colour, because I think it's crucial if you're in a mixed race relationship, or even if it's not an intimate relationship and it's a white person with black friends and black people with white friends, that you must recognise the person's ethnicity and colour. You've got to understand that issue and you've got to put it first. And if you don't, and if you try and say, well, I love you for your person and I don't see your colour, you're either fooling yourself or you're trying to fool everybody else, because it's crucial.
I think that's a very good point. Yeah?
Return an answer. I think you've summed me up wrong. Look, I'm not trying to paint myself white, black, blue, pink. What I'm trying to say in essence is that when I look at someone, I don't look at someone's colour. The colour's beyond me. Yes, I do know they're a different colour, but it doesn't play an important part in what I actually think about a person. It plays no part whatsoever. Now, as going back to identity, yes, I know I'm a black man, and I know that's a white woman. And if we go back through history, many times I've sat watching documentaries of the past history, what the black people generally have suffered, and yes, I am upset, but it doesn't turn around and make me think I've got to go out with a black woman.
Well, yeah, okay.
That's basically it.
When I was talking about identity, it is not as simple as saying I'm black and she's white. It's obvious when you look in the mirror that you're black, all right? I'm not talking about that. I am talking knowing you're black and being black. That is what I'm talking about. It's not just I'm black, because you can be black and still have all the Western attributes in the world. It's not that I'm talking about, and I'm not trying to put anyone down or anything. I am just Simply saying that if you lose your identity, that is when you have lost your soul. Because at some point in that relationship, it is going to be questioned. And if you have no answers, you're in trouble. That's all I'm
But define for me what being black is. Okay, looking black, being black. Yeah, just for the audience.
It's just to know who you are, basically, and where you're coming from. And to understand that. If you're black, be black and proud. Don't see it as something, because I know there's a lot of black people who go out with white people, and they truly feel that by going out with this white counterpart, or whether it be Indian or whatever, but it's mainly with white, that they do feel that somehow they are accepted by white people. They do feel that.
The point I would like to make is, right, I mean, like, people aren't taking into consideration, it's all right going on and staying to your own race and all the rest of it, but I mean, let's face it, right, black men in this country have got a real attitude problem in regards you know, I do apologise because it is general, but let me just say...
Okay, attitude problem. Are we talking about sexual stereotypes here? Are we talking about, yeah?
My experience comes from Southampton, man, right?
Southampton black man, where are you?
Right? And I mean, like, with the men we got in Southampton, man, that's enough to drive you to any race, man.
I'm sorry. I know the type of men you're talking about, but I have to defend my male counterparts. Sure, there are men.
Have you got a Southampton man here? Have you got a few of them? Yeah? Are you in a herd somewhere? Yeah?
Sure there are.
You're going to have to speak to me. I know some of you are here.
No. Sure, there are men that are, that have a serious attitude problem, but that's not restricted to one black race. That's restricted to men world over.
We have to fight from the moment we're born. We have to fight for our identity because, I mean, for example, me for myself, I had a long struggle, growing up as a teenager because in school it was thrust to me, Newton did this, Queen Elizabeth did that. You're given a white historical view, what white people put into the world. But black people's views and what black people put into the world and how great we were never told to me. I had to find out about that myself. I had to go to the library and look for African history, African books, African culture. You have to constantly fight for your identity and fight for you being black on this planet and being something because it isn't given to you. I mean, okay, it's true, you are what you live and what's around you, but as a black person, you have to fight for your identity on this planet, because it's just not shown to us. It's not given to us at all. You have that as a white person because it's constantly portrayed that, you did wonderful things, you did this, you did that. But black people built the pyramids and it isn't told, things like that. We have to go and find that out.
The unwritten history, yeah?
I think one thing that should be addressed, at least later on, is the propaganda machine and the way it perpetuates a lot of these ideas. I think that is, at the moment, being left out and forgotten.
Okay, well, tell me how that's relevant. In what way you think that's relevant to mixed-race relationships?
Well, for example, in the Spike Lee, one of the Spike Lee films, the first time I sat down and I saw a black couple have a picnic, and just merely trivial things like that are sort of gone unknown, I go around my girlfriend in Southampton for me, and we get weird looks. People just never seen a black couple. We get sort of looks of shock and horror that, hey, there's a black couple and they can exist, and they can love each other, holding hands. Yeah.
There's an educated black woman with plaited hair who looks African. Oh boy.
They look as.
I agree with what you said. It seems that a mixed race couple seems to be more acceptable than a black couple. If you look at the mass media as a whole, all the couples you see, as soon as a black man seems to get successful, he's got a white woman on his arm. Why? Yeah. I've never, all the successful, even not nationwide success, but even local success. I've seen it. As soon as a black man is successful, I don't know if it's for status or what it's for, but it's immediately, I've known them to leave their black wives for white women as soon as they're successful. Why?
Let's make the link now between mixed race relationships, okay, and what is happening to black people in, let's be honest, white racist society in Britain today. Okay, because the statistics do show that blacks are very, 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 very much more disadvantaged. Okay. Now, can anybody kind of make that link for me? Yeah.
I don't think it's about an economic status or, a balancing of the status, because I find that a lot of working class black men would automatically go for a white woman. So I don't think it's a status thing at all. I mean, my relatives, they would say they're not going to return to the West Indies because there aren't enough white women there for them. These are black men speaking, and they're quite happy to admit that.
Are they related to Southampton men? No?
Well, they're from the southeast. But I was interested in what this young lady was saying. She was saying if she saw a good-looking white man and a good-looking black man, she would gravitate immediately towards the good-looking black man. And there are not many black men who feel that way about us. They would see a good-looking white woman and gravitate towards her.
But I've actually found black men saying to me that it's also a question of supply and demand. You know?
Let's say that. Can I just say, as a mother, what I've observed with black men and white women, I believe that a young black person has tremendous strength, a woman especially, and they're very assertive. And I feel this is the main reason why a majority of the black men go for white women. Black women are very, very strong. We've got a strength that is craved after. And it's sought after by the whites. Yeah? Because no matter what our situation, no matter what our circumstance, we pull through. We are victorious in the end.
You can't step into another person's skin, it's true. But if you've got children and they're hurt, I think as a parent you hurt more, because you'd rather to have it suffer yourself than see your children suffer. So I think from that point of view, you can fully understand.
But does that help the children? Do you feel that the children can understand how you feel about their suffering?
I think certainly they can. And I think the way they've grown up has proved that they can.
Children, I think the strength of the children lies in the strength of the parents. We have such a lot of stereotyping in so many ways. Several things one could say. 35 years ago, when we knew each other, and we married 32 years ago, it wasn't fashionable for black to go with white or white to go with black, some of the points of view. You asked what love was. One, God knows what love is. I mean, there is no Barbara Cartland type of definition of it, probably I couldn't give you. But it's a feeling at a given time which makes two people do certain things,
My husband's Asian, and we've got 2 children, and I've tried from the young one's only just been born, but the oldest one's almost 4, and I've tried from when he was born to make him fully aware of his Indian culture and take him to the temple and get him to know and respect that he is half Indian. And I'm fully aware of the racist issues that he's going to face, but the thing that I suppose frightens me and makes me sad is that as a mother of a mixed race child, that I know that although he's starting to face racism already at play school and etc., although I want to help him, I know that it's very difficult to, because I haven't faced that same, as a mother, I haven't faced that same sort of racism, although I have faced it as being part of the family.
So do you feel at the end of the day he's got to face it almost alone?
Well, that's the thing, that's obviously I want to help him as much as I can, and I'm trying to, but at the end of the day I haven't experienced that same aspect of racism, although I have experienced it by being married to somebody who's Asian, but not the same extent that he is, because he is half Asian.
But you feel as though you understand enough to prepare him as much as possible for what lies ahead?
Yeah, well, I really hope so, yeah, and I'm trying to.
I think we have to acknowledge that our children are going to go through painful experiences. But I also think that apart from preparing them, I think we really need to nurture their racial identity, that they are something, and really give them positives. I know the media gives all negatives and lots of negatives, but I think we should try and nurture the positives of a racial identity apart from preparing, so that they find that inner strength to move on.
I was listening to Franklin, and obviously a lot of his motivations is coming from a political point of view, right? When the reality for most of us here, we're living in this society, and in this society, we have mixed marriages, we have children that's gone into mixed marriages and so on. So we have got to learn to live with that. I mean, I think most people who enter a mixed relationship didn't actually look at the person and say, oh, I'm going to go into it because that's the opposite way. They just happened to love that person and went into the relationship rather blindly, as you were saying. And I'm not saying there isn't problems. The problems are there, obviously, but they have to be worked out. There's no way we're going backwards on this. It's something that's here and will always be there. So I think at the end of the day, we have to talk about how we actually solve some of those problems. I mean, I know from